Children. Children are very mischievous. To get what they want, they will lie. But what happens if you lie and your parents find out? What happens if you lie and the Buddha finds out? So today, we're going to continue the story of the most venerable Rahul. But before that, let's take a few moments to worship the Supreme One, the undefeated One, the Sublime One, the Supreme Buddha. To do this, can I request you all to be upstanding and recite the Namaskar with me? Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. And also let's make a firm determination. May the great qualities of the Arhats, whose every footsteps were a blessing to the world, may these qualities seep into our hearts and minds, and may we be like them. May we have these qualities, and may we go on our path to Nibbana. And also, let's not forget that among this infinite long journey in samsara, we have not been good and great people. In some lives, maybe this life itself, we may have done bad things to people practicing the path, the Aryans. So let's take a few moments to ask for their forgiveness for all the slandering, the insults, the offense we may have done to them. So let's take a moment to ask the forgiveness from the Samma Sambuddhas, the Pacceka Buddhas, the Arhat Buddhas, and anyone on the path or having attained fruit. Okay. Right now, you may be thinking, children, they lie, but does that mean Rahula also lied? We'll find out. So last time we talked about the story of the Venerable Rahula and especially his lay life and his past lives. How he was the son of Prince Siddhartha and how his father had left him to search for the truth, to search for the cure for all illnesses, for old age, for death. And also we talked about how Rahula, Prince Rahula, used to help around in the castle. He was a good child. He was never selfish. And we talked about how he was ordained, how his teacher was the most venerable Sariputta, and his preceptor was the most venerable Kashyapa. How lucky he was indeed. Surrounded by great Aryans, the elders, the Venerable Sariputta, Venerable Moggallana, Venerable Kashyapa, Venerable Ananda, and the Buddha himself. You see, after Rahula ordained, just imagine, a 7-year-old had become a monk. Now, I want to take a moment and go into the life of King Suddhodana. So King Suddhodana was the king, with a lot of money, power, with everything. And he had a son. He had 2 sons, in fact, that we know about. One of them is Prince Siddhartha, the other one is Prince Nanda. So, after a few years, Prince Siddhartha left his home, renounced, and became the Buddha. After his other son ordained, became the Venerable Nanda. You see, they were both prophesied to become world-turning monarchs, the king of kings. And both of them ordained. And Venerable Rahula, he was also prophesied to become the king of kings. But he ordained as well. King Suddhodana was the grandfather of Rahula. The moment he heard the news, the moment he saw Rahula, he felt heartbroken. So sad. Because now he knew that he would no longer be able to see his grandchild run around, play. No longer is he going to be in the palace. Instead, he's going to be in a monastery. His grandchild. He was unable to bear the pain so much that he went to the Buddha and said, Venerable Sir, I have a request to make. Venerable Sir, I know you are doing the best for Rahula. I know this is the best, but I request, before you ordain someone, please get permission from either their parents or guardians, because they're under a lot of care and a lot of love. If that's how King Suddhodana felt, think about the other fathers, the actual father. It shows the amount of love and compassion their father has to their son. If this is the grandfather talking, now think about the amount of love your father has, your mother has. And to concrete this idea, the Buddha accepted it. The Buddha doesn't accept things that are useless. The Buddha doesn't accept things that have no value. So the Buddha himself agrees that the love between father and child, mother and child, is a bond so strong. So from that moment onwards, he passed a law saying, you are not to ordain anyone without permission from parent or guardian. Right, so Rahula became the Venerable Rahula. He had the two chief disciples, all these arhats, Venerable Ananda and the Buddha, to teach him. And he was very obedient. He enjoyed helping others. He enjoyed making others happy. You see, he was only 7. Now, if you're 7 years old, and if you're older, just go back to when you were 7. Do you sweep your house? Do you clean your house? Sweep, vacuum, etc., 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 your house. I know that I didn't. Even if I was forced to, I wouldn't. I'm pretty sure that I didn't know how to hold a broom at the age of 7. But the Venerable Rahula, he spent some of his time sweeping the monastery and the front gardens, clearing and all this. But not just once or twice. This is something he did every single morning. If his teachers told him one thing, he would do it. But that doesn't mean he was perfect. You see, in a place called Mangostone was a place where the Venerable Rahula liked to reside. And this is where the Buddha would come regularly and preach to him. One day, the Buddha comes, and the Venerable Rahula, seeing him come, set out a seat and he collected some water to wash his feet, the Buddha's feet. And so, when the Buddha arrived, Venerable Rahula washed the Buddha's feet and ushered him to the seat that he prepared. And then, like normal, he worshipped the Buddha and sat aside. Now the Buddha saw that there was some water left in the container that the Venerable Rahula used to wash his feet. And so he preached, Rahula, do you see there's a little bit of water remaining in this pot, in this container? Yes, Venerable Sir. This is the same as the monkhood of a monk who deliberately lies and feels no shame. Now, why would you think the Buddha came to the Venerable Rahula and said this and preached him this? Again, the Buddha doesn't do things just because. There's reasons. Obviously, there's reasons. Unfortunately, the scriptures, they don't really talk about this, but I feel, in my point of view, is that Rahula obviously had deliberately lied, and we can guess to his teacher, Venerable Sariputta. And so the Buddha had come to tell him not to. So we can put the pieces of the puzzle together and think that Rahula lied. Not just once or twice, but quite a lot. And therefore we can also infer that he was a bit mischievous. Just like 7-year-olds. We're talking about a real 7-year-old. We're not talking about adults. We're not talking about people who are mature people. We're talking about 7-year-olds. Like 7-year-olds, they would lie without knowing it's bad. Or they lie knowing it's bad, but they should do it. And so the Buddha himself goes to Rahula and tells him, having a little bit of the water left in the pot, that's the same as the monkhood of a monk who deliberately lies. And the best part is, he's not just talking to Rahula, he's talking to everyone. And when he means monkhood, he's talking about life. What is the point of a life? Of a person who deliberately lies. So having heard this, when Rahula took this container and poured all the water out. And so he asked Rahula, do you see that there is very little water left, little to none water left in this pot? Yes, Venusa. Rahula, a person who lies, deliberately lies, gets tossed away like this. So whatever good things that they have in their lives gets tossed away, just like the water that was removed, that was thrown away. And so after that, Rahula turned this pot upside down. And the blessed one, the Buddha, asked Rahula, Rahula, do you see that this water pot is turned upside down? Yes, Buddha. Rahula, a person who lies deliberately and feels no shame, is not ashamed of himself, is turned upside down just like that. What does it mean? If the water was good things, a person who lies can't collect them, can't become good again. Because why? Every time he gets given advice and he doesn't do it, he or she doesn't do it, now what? Instead of saying, I didn't do it, they lie. Excuses. They can't improve. And then when Rahula turned this pot right side up, and the Buddha again asked him, Rahula, do you see how this pot is now empty and hollow? Yes, Venvusa. Rahula, a life of a person who deliberately lies and is not ashamed of it is empty and hollow just like that. Rahula, royal elephants who are really big, immense, who've been bred for war, who have massive tusks and really strong trunks, having gone to battle, uses its feet, its every part of its body, its head, its ears, its tusk, its tail, but it doesn't use its trunk. What do you think the elephant trainer notices? The elephant trainer notices that this royal elephant hasn't given its life up to the king. That it's not fighting to its fullest. It's not obedient. It's not truthful. But when the royal elephant, having gone to battle, uses every single part, its feet, its head, its ears, its tusks, its tail, and his trunk, will think, the trainer will think, this royal elephant has given up its entire life to the king. There is absolutely nothing that it will do that it won't do to win. That there is absolutely nothing it will not do because it's given its entire life. Now, what is that talking about? Now the Buddha continues and says, in the same way, Rahula, when everyone deliberately lies and doesn't feel ashamed of it, there is no evil that he will not do. And so he advises Rahula, Rahula, do not lie even as a joke. So we can put the puzzle pieces together and we can think that the Venerable Rahula lied. It's a joke. We're not completely sure, but we can infer. We're talking about a 7-year-old. This 7-year-old wasn't an ordinary 7-year-old. This was a person who was dedicated on the path. So, for all those people out there who lie, and I'm not shamed about it, if the hat fits, put it on. You see, the advice that the Buddha gave to Rahula is valuable not just to him, but to everyone. In the same discourse, he continues and asks Rahula, Rahula, what is a mirror for? What is a mirror for? Oh, you need to see your reflection, right? That's what Rahula says. In the same way, Rahula, reflect on the actions you do with your body, your speech, and your mind. So whenever you do something when you want to do something with your body, you should first check, is this something that I want to do? Is this something that's going to hurt myself? Is it something that's going to hurt others? Or both? Is it going to have painful consequences or a painful result? If so, don't do it. If you're doing something, reflect on the same thing. Is it something that's going to hurt others? Is it going to hurt myself? Both? Is it going to have bad consequences? Then don't do it. If you have done something, reflect. Is it something that hurt someone? Is it something that hurt myself? Is it something that has bad outcomes? Then I shouldn't do in the future. That's body. Speech. Same thing. Is it going to hurt myself? Is it hurting others? Both. Does it have bad consequences? Then don't do it. If you're going to do it, if you want to do it, if you're doing it, and if you've done it. All three. And then mind. Mental actions. Is it something that's going to hurt myself? Is it something that's going to hurt others? Both. Is it going to have pain? Is it going to have bad consequences? If so, no. Don't think about it. You see, what is he teaching Rahula? To be a good person. To be a person with great qualities. Someone that cares for others. Because think about it. Before he does something, and obviously Rahula listens to what the Buddha, his teachers, all say, and do it word for word. So now before he does something, he reflects. Is this going to hurt others? Is this going to hurt myself? Does it have bad consequences? No? Okay, I'll do it. You see, the Buddha is instilling Rahula with great qualities. Hearing this, Rahula was so happy. Because now, he's free. Now he knows how to stop. Now he knows how to be free from lying. You see, he's extremely lucky to have the Buddha by him, by his side, telling him what's right and wrong. You see, we can also again infer that this wasn't just the first time. You see, because of his association with these noble friends, with the Venerable Sariputta, Venerable Moggallana, Venerable Kashyapa, the Buddha, and all these arhats, all these people who are practicing their path, he automatically accumulates all these good qualities. And especially when you're young, you're a sponge. You absorb everything. That is why when you're put with good people, you are good. When you're put with bad people, you are bad. And especially at a young age, you're a very absorbent sponge. That's why they say the environment in your own household is very important for children because they absorb. But Rahula was fortunate enough to be in the association of noble people. And we obviously inferred that he has done some wrong. He's not a bad person. He just does some things wrong. Like a white lie here and there. Maybe forgetting to do things. Maybe coming up with excuses. But, you see, we can imagine that this small child, he gets told not to do this, not to do that, so often. Now, think about this. When you were younger, or your children, or your siblings, do they like being told not to do something? Like, to do this, to do that, don't do this, don't do that. No, obviously not. You can imagine that Rahula felt the same thing. See, put Rahula into your own life, into a 7-year-old that you know. Now what? Now, 7-year-olds, these young children, they don't like being told what to do, what not to do. And you can see that sometimes they may get fed up. But because of the association that the Venerable Rahula had, he was given advice. He was told, every morning, pick up a handful of sand and throw it in the air and say, may I receive as many advice as there are grains of sand that I've thrown into the air. Do you see how powerful that is? This young child, through every single morning, would take a handful of sand and throw it up. Because why? He wants to change. He wants to change because of what? Because of the association he has. Because of the understanding he has. He wanted to become better. He wanted to become someone that everyone likes. Someone that everyone doesn't shout at, doesn't scold, doesn't tell off. You see, usually when someone tells us off, when someone says you're doing something wrong, the first thing that comes up is, why are they here? Let's remove him. Let's remove her. Let's remove all of them. But because of the association that Rahula had, because of his understanding, Rahula thought, you know what? It's not their problem. They're telling me things that I should change because the problem's with me. I can change myself. He used all this advice to change himself to become a better person. Like that, he got the advice that he needed. Every day, someone would tell him, you could do this like this, you could do this like that. And instead of being stubborn and going, I don't want, obviously I could have done like that. I did that because of this, and giving excuses. Instead of that, no matter what the other person said, he took it. And he appreciated it. Thank you. Thank you for showing my mistake. We're talking about a 7-year-old. That's something I'd like to drill into your head. We're talking about a 7-year-old. You see, he was very disciplined. Imagine, you get told, like every time you do something wrong, you get told to not do it. And so you understand what is right and what is wrong. And so he disciplined himself. Thanks to his noble associations. And you see, Rahula was someone who would always say, I'm sorry. The most powerful word. Sorry. Not just the word sorry, but a very heartfelt sorry. I'm very sorry. You see, like I said, the Venerable Rahula every morning would sweep the grounds. Monks have heard about his actions, that he's very disciplined, that he doesn't get angry when someone tells him to do something, when someone shows him a mistake. So sometimes what they would do is, after he sweeps the ground, they would come up and pick up a handful of leaves and put it in the middle and say, Rahula, Venerable Rahula, you missed a bit. Now, Venerable Rahula knows that he swept that part. Instead of saying, well, I didn't do it, I swept that area, someone left it there, or you put it there. Instead of shouting at this person, all he says is, Venerable Sir, I'm very sorry, forgive me. put his hands together and ask for their forgiveness, and takes the broom again and sweeps it away without saying another word. Now, for anyone older than 7, can you do it? Can you be like the Venerable Rahula? You do something and someone says, "Oh, you missed a bit." Can you humbly go up and clean that bit off? Do that small bit? Or is it too low for you? Do you go and shout at this person for doing that? Say, for example, you clean some area, someone comes in and drops something and says, "You missed a bit." What are the first words that come out of your mouth? Is it, "Hey, you dropped it, you should clean it, pick it up, I just cleaned this area"? Is that the first word that comes? Are those the first words that come out of your mouth? Or is it, "I'm sorry, give me a moment, let me clean it for you"? And it's not even to pass a hint, to make them feel a bit uncomfortable. Nothing. The Venerable Rahul did it all honestly. Some monks would take this broom that he used and put it in the middle of the ground and tell him, "Rahula, why did you put the broom in the middle of the ground? You know you should put it back where it is." Now, the Venerable Rahula obviously knows that he put it where it's supposed to be. Instead of saying, "Well, I didn't put it there, what are you talking about?" "I'm sorry, please forgive me." Picks the broom up and puts it back. Do you not see how special Rahula is? How special Venerable Rahula is? And he's how old? 7. For anyone who's listening, check. How old are you? Are you 7 or older? Do you have the same qualities as Rahula, as the most venerable Rahula? You see, one day, the Venerable Rahula gets told that his mother, when he was lay, his mother, the now Venerable Yasodhara, or Baddha Kachayana, was ill, had a stomachache. Now, what do you think he did? Do you think he went and he went to see the Venerable Yasodhara? No. The first person he went to was his teacher. He went to his teacher and asked, "Venerable Sariputta, my mother, my lay mother, or the Venerable Baddha Kachayana is ill. What can I do?" And so Venerable Sariputta told Rahula to go and ask her what was wrong and see what she needed and help her. And so Venerable Rahula went to the Venerable Baddha Kachayana and asked what's wrong. And she explained, saying she had a very severe stomachache, and asked, "What do you need to make this better? What do you used to take to make this better?" And the Venerable Yasodhara explained, saying, "Back when I was a lay person, when I had a stomachache like this, I used to consume honey mangoes." Okay. Now, what do you think Rahul did? Do you think he went straight outside and went looking for these honey mangoes? No, he went straight to his teacher. Do you see the connection that he had with Venerable Sariputta? He was very close with his teacher. He associated his teacher very often, and they had a very close bond. You see, that is what made him to become an Arhat. The connection he had. And so he went to the Venerable Sariputta and said, "Venerable Sariputta, my mother's ill, she has a severe stomachache," and she said that before, in her lay life, when she had some stomachache like this, she used to eat honey mangoes. So Sariputta thought about this and said, "Okay, you know, King Kosala, he likes these mangoes. And although it's getting late, it's past 12 noon, we can still go there and see if he'll offer it to us. And so Venerable Sariputta led the way, Venerable Rahula behind, and went to King Kosala. King Kosala looked at them and thought, wait, this is past 12. And at that time, he was indulging himself with these honey mangoes. And when he saw Venerable Sariputta and Rahula coming for alms, he thought, there has to be something wrong. It's past 12 noon. Someone must be ill. And so he offered honey mangoes to fill their alms bowl. And after accepting that, Venerable Sariputta and Venerable Rahula went back and gave us to the Venerable Bhaddakacchaya, or Yasodhara. Now the king was curious. And so he went and asked the monks in the monastery, is there something wrong with, is the Venerable Sariputta or Venerable Rahula ill? Do they need to see a doctor? And the monks replied, no, to their knowledge, they're not ill. But the Venerable Bhaddakacchaya is ill. And she said she needed some honey mangoes to make her feel better. Having understood that this was to help for medicine, the King Kosala offered pretty much a container full of honey mangoes to the monastery. A lot of mangoes. Another day, probably a couple of years after, the Venerable Yasodhara also had another stomachache, and again, Rahul did the same thing. Even though he may be older, 2, 3, 4 years older, he went straight to his teacher first. He didn't do anything on his own account. He had his teacher's permission. Because why? The teacher has vowed to help their students attain Nibbana. So Rahula knows that. Rahula knows that, and so that's what he did. He went to his teacher and asked. If his teacher said no, don't do anything, what do you think Rahula would do? Nothing. But again, Venerable Sariputta went and told Rahula to check, and when Rahula comes back saying that usually she takes something called a hal rice, a type of rice that the royal eat, and that usually cures her stomach ache. And so they did the same thing. They went to the King Kosala's palace, and again at that time, luckily that he was indulging himself with all this rice, and so they offered it, and they found out that it's because the Venerable Bhaddakacchaya was ill, and so he again offered sackfuls of ahal rice. Again, the Venerable Bhaddakachaya's stomachache healed. He became better. You see, these are things that he did. These are the things that he did, first of all, to help his mother. You see, Venerable Rahula never forgot about his mother, nor did he forget about his father. Even though he's ordained, even though the bond between them has physically shattered, he still looked after. You see, he had role models as well. The Venerable Rahul had role models. Well, definitely, because he was surrounded by them, right? One day, the Venerable Sariputta asked Venerable Rahula if he would like to accommodate him to an almsgiving at his lay household, because his mum wanted to offer something. And so Rahula was his teacher, right? Said, it's okay, fine. So the Venerable Sariputta, the Venerable Rahula, and another 500 monks made their way to the Venerable Sariputta's lay household. And his mother opened the door. The moment his mother, Rupasari, saw Venerable Sariputta, she started to shout, scream in fact, because Venerable Sariputta didn't get the permission from his mother. His mother didn't want him to ordain because not just him, her whole family, all of her daughters, all of her sons have ordained. So the moment she opened the door, she started rampage. She started rant about how you're disgrace to our clan, our name. You come from this class. You have all this money, all this power, and yet you go begging for alms. How dare you? How dare you take your brother with you as well? And pretty much you can say he was being disgraced in front of the 500 monks. But Rupasari wasn't ready to stop. She started to shout at every single monk there. But yet, in the end, she let them enter. She offered alms. Even while offering alms, she was still angry, still mad at the Venerable Sariputta. Offered alms, and after they offered alms, they again left and went back to the monastery. There, the Buddha called Rahula over and said, Rahula, where did you go today? And he replied saying, we went to the Venerable Sariputta's lay house. What happened there? When it was his mother, Rupasari, started telling us off, started shouting at Venerable Sariputta, saying this and this and this and this and this, and gives a quick recap. The Buddha asked, what did your teacher do? My teacher stood there, absolutely silently. Didn't retaliate, didn't say a single word back. He accepted his alms and came back. The Buddha said, Rahula, you see, that there is my student. That there is one of my students. That there is one of my sons. See, the Venerable Rahula, those are people to look up to, think, wow, I want to be like him. He had inspiration all around him. Because why? He associated noble people. And therefore, even at the house of Rupasari, because his teacher didn't retaliate. And Rahula also didn't retaliate. See, another time, the Buddha passed a new rule saying the higher day monks can't stay in the same kuti as, or sleep in the same kuti as a novice monk. And so Rahula went to his, didn't know this, and so he went into the kuti that he normally stayed in and went inside, and when he knocked on the door, a higher ordained monk opened it and said, Rahula, you can't sleep here. Why? Why can't I sleep here? Because we don't want to break the rules that the Buddha had just set. We don't want to break the rules. And so when Rahula said okay, and he went and looked for another place. And there again another higher monk said that we don't want to break the rules, we don't want to defy the Buddha. And again he went searching from place to place, looking for a place to sleep. In the end, he went to a place that he knew was empty. Now where's that? He went to the toilet. He went into the toilet that the Buddha used and slept there. Again, a young child sleeping in the toilets. Now, if we're looking at the hygiene wise, the Buddha's toilet was probably very hygienic and very clean because it's the Buddha, right? People offered the best to the Buddha. That's one thing. But think about it. Think about the mindset of Rahula. He was able to sleep in a toilet, in a bathroom, in a place where people excrete. In the morning, the Buddha came to the front of the door and saw that it was occupied, and as tradition, he cleared his throat. Rahula woke up and he also cleared his throat. The Buddha asked, who's there? It's me, Rahula. Rahula, why are you sleeping in the bathroom? Rahula replied saying, Venerable Sir, I went looking for a place to stay, a place to sleep yesterday, but everyone said that they don't want to break the rules, and so I couldn't sleep outside because I might be bit by or stung by snakes, scorpions, mosquitoes, and so on and so forth. And so the Buddha asked, why did you sleep here? Because of the rule that you put, the rule that you placed, saying that something about higher rank monks can't sleep with novice monks. At that moment, the Buddha changed the rules, changed it. Now think about it. The Venerable Rahula, the son of Prince Siddhartha slept in the toilet. Do you see how humble he was? Because think about it, he could have went around and said, excuse me, I am the son of Prince Siddhartha, the son of the Buddha. Come on, you have to give me some space. Give me a place to stay, please. But none of that. He got declined once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. Went looking for it, but didn't find it. Tried looking for a place, found the toilet. These are legends. These are the lives of legends. Of great, of amazing people. I don't know about you, but can you sleep in the toilet? And again, Rahula was extremely fortunate to be in association of noble people. Extremely fortunate. You see, one day he was asked by the Buddha. He was asked, do you despise people, these noble people? Do you not like these people who you regularly associate, these noble people? Have they become normal to you? Have you lost respect for them? Do you worship the one, your teacher, who bears the torch for all human beings? Now, when he says torch, what do you mean? Something that emits light, the truth. He's talking about his teacher, Venerable Sariputta. Do you worship Venerable Sariputta? Hearing this, Venerable Rahula said, Venerable Sir, I enjoy the association, the people I associate. I associate my teacher very frequently, and every single day, every moment I find time, I frequently worship the one who bears the torch for me, who lights my way. You see, he had all these people, the right association. And through his effort, through all the people who helped him, the Buddha preached more sermons, many more sermons. And at the age of 16, he became undefiled, free from defilements, unshakable. He became an arhat. Think about it. He had the right association. I would like you to take a moment, and I would like you to see, do you have the right associations? When I mean association, I'm not just saying for people on your path. I'm saying about people you associate. Are they the right associations? Are they people who you want to associate to achieve what you want to achieve? Whether it's worldly or whether it's Nibbana. See, if you associate the right people, you are destined to achieve your goal. Rahula associated his teacher very frequently. So at the age of 16, he became an arhat. 16 is no older or no younger than most of you. He became an arhat. You see, even as an arhat, he was very humble. One day, he went into his kuti, his chamber, and saw that there was another monk in it, and there was not enough space for him. Without disturbing the other monk, without asking the other monk, he left, looked for another place to stay, and again he looked, and looked, and looked. So again, he went to sleep in the Buddha's toilet. Now we're talking about not a 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old. We're talking about a 16-year-old. A person older than 16 sleeping in the toilet. Just imagine. You know the pride that we feel. Imagine that all gone. Do you not see how free we would be? A 16-year-old, 17-year-old, 18-year-old, 19, 20, however old, was able to sleep in a toilet because someone else was in their room. For all those children out there, for all those teenagers out there, for all those people out there. Do you like having someone in your room, the room that you own? Would you happily give that to someone and not regret it? Seeing this, Mara thought, you know what? I'm going to wake Rahula up. I'm going to send a large elephant, a tusked elephant with red eyes to him. And so the Buddha could feel the floor rumble, and saw Mara riding this massive elephant. So the Buddha said, Mara, Rahula used to be the son of Prince Siddhartha, but now he's the son of the Buddha. He is free from desire, aversion, delusion. He is free from fear. Do whatever you can, but you won't be able to scare him. He's my son. And it wasn't a surprise that the Buddha gave him the title, the foremost among monks who are willing to be disciplined, is my son Rahula. Just think how great that is. Are you willing to be disciplined? You see, our pride stops us from being disciplined. Like being disciplined stopped us from improving ourselves, from helping one another. Our pride. And before Rahula became an Arhat, his pride was to the ground, put to the ground and stepped upon. By himself. He put others before himself. He was willing to be disciplined, willing to change himself to make others happy. Are you the same? Are you like Rahula? You see, after he became an Arhat, he started practicing the austere practices. Why? After he became an Arhat, what's the point? For you and me. He practiced the austere practices for you and me. To show that a Prince Rahula, who had castles to his names, who had all these princesses that looked after him, who had all these food, practices austere practices. Soon, at the age of 30, around the age of 30, he went to the Buddha and asked permission to pass away, having seen his lifespan was ending. And so, after the Buddha gave him permission, where do you think Rahula passed away? Not in the palace, I'll give you a clue, not in the human realm. He passed away to the heaven. He was the only Arhat to pass away in a heaven. And left behind relics in the heaven. So my question to all of you is, do you want to be the son of the Buddha? Do you want to be someone like Rahula? Someone who's humble, someone so innocent, someone with a good, pure heart. Rahula. Someone who used to be a prince, the son of Prince Siddhartha, became the son of the Supreme One, the Buddha. So for all 7-year-olds, for all 16-year-olds, for everyone out there, make Rahula your role model. Be like Rahula. Follow in his footsteps. Be willing to be disciplined, to change, be malleable, be moldable. So your teachers can mold you to what you're supposed to be, an Arhat. Be like Rahula. Be like the Venerable Rahula, the son of the Buddha. Okay. So that was the story of the most Venerable Rahula, from birth to passing away. I sincerely hope that you were able to collect at least one good quality, and I hope that you'll put this into your own life, apply it, and so you can be something like Rahula. And if you at all think I can't because of some sort of excuse, just remember, he did most of this when he was 7. Some of you maybe twice, 3 times, 4 times his age, 5 times his age. That gives you no excuse. Okay, let's take a few moments to transfer the merits and then conclude. Let's take a moment to transfer the merits we've all acquired by making offerings to the infinite virtues of the Noble Triple Gem, chanting Pirith, listening to the Dharma, and engaging in various meritorious deeds today. First and foremost, let's remind ourselves How incredibly fortunate we are to have been in receipt of Lord Buddha's teaching, and with immense gratitude has transferred the merits to the Bhikshu, Bhikshunis, Upasakas, who since time immemorial have protected and preserved the sublime teaching of the Buddha and passed it down to a generation in a noble lineage in the form of the Tripitaka, which is thankfully available to us today to study, to understand, to comprehend the Dharma. Let's also take a moment to transfer the merits that we all acquire to all the members of the Mahasangha present throughout the world, including the chief prelates of all the chapters who dedicate their lives to noble path and committed themselves to the betterment of all sentient beings. Let's not forget, among them will be the monks and nuns resident in your local temples and nunneries, who have always been by your side through thick and thin, come rain or shine. Let's also take a moment to transfer merits to Guru Sangha and all the monks resident in the monastery, as well as the Anagarikas and Nagarikas attached to the monastery. Let's all take a moment to transfer merits and express our gratitude to those who make great efforts to disseminate the teaching of the Buddha. Be that by transliterating these sermons, sharing them out with others, inviting others to join them. May through the power of these merits, if any of them have been born on the woeful plane, may they redeem themselves and be born on the blissed plane. May through the power of the merits, may they abstain from the meritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble forward path, and attain the supreme bliss Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let's all take a moment to transfer merits we've acquired to our devotees, friends of the monastery, who for sake of merits continue to sustain the Mahasangha. This includes every one of you who have contributed to the construction of the monastery, to those of you who provide the Mahasangha with shelter, alms, robes, medicines, as well as those who pass on their know-hows, extend their well wishes. May the power of the merits, may they abstain from their meritorious deeds, fulfill their meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble fourth path, and attain the supreme bliss in Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let's also take a moment to transfer merits to our mothers, fathers, husbands, wives, brothers, sisters, sons, daughters, grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins, nephews, nieces, our elders, friends and acquaintances, employers, employees, and to all those who have helped us, supported us, assisted us in any way, shape, or form. By the power of these merits, may they be healed of any physical or mental ailments and overcome any obstacles to their spiritual progress. May they abstain from the meritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble fourth path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let's all take a moment to transfer merits to the Devas, Brahmanas, spirits, demons, primary Sakradeva, as well as numerous gods and deities who are committed to protect and fulfill the Sambuddha Sasana. Let's also take a moment to transfer merits to our guardian deities who keep a watchful eye over us and keep us out of harm's way. May the power of the merits, may they prosper in divine power and wisdom, may they abstain from their meritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble fourth path, and attain the supreme bliss Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let's all take a moment to transfer merits to our ancestors who predeceased us, to all those who have been families, friends, acquaintances in this infinitely long journey in samsara, and to all those who have helped us, supported, assisted us in any way they could. Let's take a moment to transfer the merits. Let's also take a moment to transfer the merits to the members of the armed forces, as well as the police force who have sacrificed their lives to protect the peace and harmony of our nation. May all those who lost life in war, be their friend or foe, rejoice in the merits required today. Let's also take a moment to transfer merits to all those who lost lives in natural calamities such as tsunamis, earthquakes, landslides, pandemics. Running ourselves among them will be those who have been friends, family to us in the long journey in samsara. Let's take a moment to transfer merits to them. May the power of the merits, if any of them have been born on the woeful plane, may they redeem themselves and be born on the blissful plane. May they abstain from their meritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble fourth path, and attain supreme Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Finally, let's all resolve, may through the power and blessing of all the merits required throughout the day, we bear to witness the event of many hundreds of thousands of arahats on this blessed land. And finally, may through the power of all the merits required today, you and I and everyone who have helped make this program a success become Arhat Nwanse or Arahat Mahin Nwanse in its very life in the era of the Gautama Supreme Buddha itself. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. May the blessings of the Noble Chibu Gem be with you all.